We're ready to go.
Okay, good.
In the audience, please.
Okay, y'all, we're getting started. Well, thank you all for coming to the first ever vice presidential debate for the Student Government Association candidates. We're really excited to have a pretty full house today, and our folks joining us on the live stream as well. So the goal of this evening's event is to educate you all and the campus community on the values, platform, and ideas of each candidate for the Student Government Association Vice President position to inform your vote in the upcoming election. Tonight's debate, to set a couple ground rules, will be conducted in alignment with the Student Code of Conduct, while also being an inclusive and meaningful forum for candidates to explain their ideas to improve the student experience. In alignment with our community standards here at Stevens, we remind the candidates that all actions and statements are expected to be inclusive and not discriminate against any person on the basis of sex, race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, gender expression, or any other basis prohibited by law. Additionally, all responses should remain about candidate platforms and ideas and challenges, maybe within the SGA or at Stevens generally, but should avoid any statements about individual students or other candidates. We hope that this event is informative and also fun to allow you to get to know our candidates a little bit better. Do all of our candidates agree to these guidelines?
Yep.
Perfect. For each segment of this evening's event, a predetermined randomized order has been set. Candidates will be asked to give their responses in the order announced for each portion of the event. So let's review that event format. So we will start with opening statements from each candidate to define objectives and intentions of your campaign for SGA Vice President. You will each have 3 minutes maximum to respond. Anna will be setting a timer and will also give you a 30-second warning via paper when your time is close to up. After the opening statements, we'll have questions on a variety of topics where each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond. These questions also include questions that were submitted by the student body in advance of tonight's event. Following our questions, all candidates will have the opportunity to give a closing statement of 90 seconds, and then we will wrap up and be on our way and excited for tomorrow's event. Okay, sound good?
Cool.
Okay, we're going to start with our opening statements. And our opening statements, we will go in the order of Sam, Thomas, and then Anushka. So Sam, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Do I get like a cue when I just start?
Just whenever you start.
Hello, my name is Samuel Strasberger. I'm a third-year mechanical engineering student here at Stevens, and I'm running for the Vice President of Operations of the SGA. I could talk to you all night about all the things that I want to do when I get there, but instead I'd like to kind of share with you the ideas behind them. Ever since I came here to Stevens, my primary goal has been to help other students. When I was a sophomore, I decided to become a peer leader. There, I helped first-year students get acclimated to college because I had a rough time during my experience, and I understand how overwhelming it could be, and I wanted to share my experience with others. I joined the SGA Budget Committee, also at the start of my second year at Stevens. There, I was able to help different organizations make the most out of the SGA rules in order to have the biggest events that they possibly could. Now, as a member of your SGA Vice President, I would like to bring that to the SGA. The primary idea that I would like to have for my time in the administration is the idea of the culture behind the SGA. The reason why people join student government is to help other students, which is at its root what I want to do. I want to remind the SGA why they exist on campus and to ensure that it's instilled in every senator that their goal is to help the students as well. I feel as though, as my role as the VPO, to be the connection between the administration and the Senate, I feel like I can do this extremely well. Yeah. Thank you.
Thomas.
Good evening, everyone. I first want to say thank you for your time. My name is Thomas Palillo. I'm running alongside Noah as the suit guys. I'm here tonight because I believe Stevens deserves leadership that actually listens, actually follows through, and actually shows up. I'm not the loudest person in the room. I won't pretend I've been involved in every corner of campus, but that's exactly why I'm here. I know what it feels like to be a regular student trying to navigate this place, and I know how much better this experience can be when a student government finally works for the student instead of just existing. As Vice President, my job is simple: to connect the Senate, the Cabinet, and every student who feels ignored or disconnected from the SGA. And I want Stevens to operate with clarity, with communication, and with a level of accessibility that hasn't been there in a long time. I'm not here to maintain the status quo, I'm here to challenge it. I'm here to make real progress and to run outside. Thank you.
Hey everyone. First of all, I just want to thank everyone for coming out here tonight, and a big thank you to Danielle and the election committee for organizing this event. My name is Anushka. I'm a sophomore QF major, and outside of the SGA, you may see me playing Frisbee with the Frisbee team, tutoring at the Writing Center, or involved in Viva. But one of my biggest commitments since my first semester as a freshman has been SGA. When I joined, I didn't have prior student government experience, but over the last year and a half, I've grown a real love and an appreciation for the passionate people that I found myself surrounded by in the SGA. I've seen ideas and events go from just ideas to full results. And I know the unique strengths of our different senators. I know who to go to when I need help with something. And this kind of understanding of the dynamics of Senate and the people that are driving it doesn't just come overnight. It is a relationship that's built over time. One of the most critical components of being the VPO is knowing the people that are driving the Senate, and that is an understanding that I can bring to the role on day one. And I just want to kind of clarify what the role is for everyone here. The VPO is an internal role to the SGA. They are responsible for meeting weekly with the committee chairs, and they ensure that there's clear communication and transparency between the cabinet and the Senate. What I currently do in the SGA is I'm the budget committee co-chair. So I help new organizations get off the ground, I help them throughout the budgeting process, and I make sure that they get what they need when they need it in order to throw successful first events. And a lot of what I do right now mirrors the responsibilities of the VPO. On any given week, I am managing 4 to 7 treasurers, each with their own unique initiatives, own unique events and requests. In the same way, the VPO manages 8 committee chairs. They meet with them weekly, and each committee chair has their own initiatives and their own concerns. So a lot of what I do right now kind of mirrors that responsibility. And perhaps most importantly, I am currently a committee chair. It gives me, being in the shoes of one, gives me that perspective to lead a team of committee chairs, which is one of the most important requirements of being a VPO. Not also to mention that the past 2 VPOs were previously committee chairs before they became VPO. And perhaps most importantly, something that being the budget co-chair has given me is it's given me the skill to lead leaders. It's different from leading people that are just younger than you, right? Leading leaders is leading people who have their own goals and visions and are leaders in their own right. And that is something that the VPO does, and it is a skill that I've practiced throughout this year as the budget co-chair. My vision for the SGA, if elected, is it runs as one cohesive, effective team where communication is clear, initiatives are supported, and senators are empowered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for introducing yourselves and a little bit more about you. And now we're going to dive into some questions to hopefully get to know you all better and what you plan to do if elected into these roles. So to start, our first question is, how do you define the role of Vice President of Operations in the Student Government Association? And what leadership qualities make you best suited to fulfill that role? If at any point you need a reminder of that question, please feel free to ask. The order for this question will be Anushka, Sam, and then Thomas. So Anushka, you ready to start?
Of course,
Perfect.
yeah. So I might sound a bit like a broken record here because I did touch on that point a little bit on my opening statement. But the way I see the VPO role is it's an internal role to the organization. The VPO is responsible for making sure the committee chairs are supported in their initiatives, and overall it's just to make sure that Senate is running smoothly and that there's transparency between the cabinet and the Senate. Could you just remind me of that second point?
Yeah,
of the
what
question?
leadership qualities make you best suited for the role?
Of course. So some of the things that I do right now as budget co-chair, right, is on any given week I'm emailing 4 to 7 treasurers who each have their own different unique things going on. But I know how to support each one of them. And that's kind of what the VPO role is. Every week they're meeting with 8 committee chairs, each with their own agendas and own initiatives. And the role, like the leadership role here, the quality here is that you need to be able to be a good listener. You need to understand like what their specific issue is, what their specific initiative is, and you need to know how to support those people. Something I bring to the table is having been in the SGA for a year, I know where to guide people to get that support that they need. I know the people in SGA, and I know who's really good at certain things. So that's kind of what I've done as budget co-chair this year, the leadership skills that I've gotten from that, just communicating, being on top of that, and being transparent with people is what I would bring to the role as VPO.
Okay. Sam, I'll repeat the question before you start.
Go
How
for
do
it,
you
thank
define
you.
the role of the Vice President of Operations in the SGA, and what leadership qualities make you best suited for that role?
Yeah. I mentioned it in the beginning, but culture is a huge thing in the SGA, and I believe that's the job of the Vice President of Operations to set that culture. I kind of want to talk a little bit more about it because I didn't really get a chance to during my opening statement, but I like to start with the leadership quality that I think most embodies like what this role is. I think that that's motivation. At the end of the day, the Student Government Association isn't a job, you don't get paid for it. The only reason why we're here is because we want to be here, we want to help students. And I feel like too often I've heard of senators that haven't been given that opportunity. Rather than being told, you know, hey, here's what I think you should be doing, it's you have to join 2 committees, figure it out. I want to sit down with every senator, chat with them, hear what are your goals, why do you join the SGA, and then direct them in that way. Motivation is something that's extremely hard to get into people. And again, as a peer leader, my job is to motivate a group of 25 students who have never talked to each other before to try to get them talking and involved on campus. I think that experience has been invaluable to me, and I think it's something I could bring to the role as VPO. And I think that, yeah.
Thomas, do you want to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Yes, of course. How do you define the role of Vice President of Operations in the SGA, and what leadership qualities make you best suited for that role?
Yeah, so I would define the role as pretty much someone that connects someone to everyone. Someone that will connect senators to the president, or someone that will connect any election chairs to the president. And I think that the most important thing that a VPO can do is make sure that everyone has a place to say something and everyone can say something. And to the leadership, I am a front-end manager at ShopRite, and I control about like 10 coworkers a night, and I make sure that everything is done on time, and I make sure that everything is done to the standards. When I first went in there, it was a very hostile work environment. Nobody really wanted to work, but at the end, things actually turned around, and now people want to stay, and we now have a group of people that have stayed. So yeah.
Thank you. Okay. For our second question, the second question is, what part of your platform do you feel most passionate about, and why? For this question, we'll be going in the order of Thomas, Anushka, and then Sam. So Thomas, take it away.
Thank you. So the most passionate one I feel about is student to community. It's part of our student to all, and I really feel passionate about it because getting people involved in clubs and getting people involved in the community of Hoboken, I think goes much further than just getting involved in clubs and community. It builds friendships, and it builds so much more things. I know that one of our policies that we would like to implement is bringing local businesses to campus and allowing them to kind of offer like, some of their products to the Stevens community. And just getting people involved in clubs allows people to meet new people or meet people that they would have never met, and it can create lifelong friendships.
Great. Anushka?
All right. Yeah, so one of the parts that I'm most passionate about is transparency. And I'm like, you know, I'm not blind. I know that the SGA doesn't have the best rep in the student body. And I think, I truly believe a lot of it is because people don't really know what we do half the time, outside of club budgets, which a lot of, you know, clubs come in for anyway. I think what we want to work on is we want to make sure that there's clear communication between the student body and the SGA. What we want to do is we want to hold monthly town hall meetings where clubs can come in, talk to us, use our expertise in like budgets and club structure and ties to administration. Just come in with any concerns, questions, things like that. I think another, like a double purpose of that is that we get to hear what clubs see, right? There's only so much that we can see that, you know, like we can help with, right? But if a club, like someone from a club comes to us and tells us, this is exactly the problem that I'm having, now we can help so much more. I think transparency is a big part of that, and another initiative that me and Arthur really want to work on is we want to create a fully functioning SGA website. I'm really excited for that to happen because that is one of our #1 priorities. It's kind of been floating around a lot of people have wanted to do it, but no one has had the will to get it done, and that is something that we want to do day one, just first month. We want to get that out so that people have it accessible to look at and see what we do.
One that I love to talk about, and if you talk to me, meet the candidates, I definitely brought it up, was our idea of championing your voice. I feel like too often students kind of have all these issues or complaints that they have about Stevens, and oftentimes they fall on deaf ears. students aren't able to contact administrators or the SGA because there's no one who's really like wanting to listen. There's a bunch of different ways that me and Jayla want to get this done, and it's been awesome to hear all of like the positive feedback that we've gotten from it. One of them is, as Anushka mentioned, the town hall that we had one on Monday actually. We're able to sit down and talk to students about issues that they had on campus, and they were able to do it in this large public forum. And that's really good for like students who are really, really passionate and comfortable talking in front of large groups, but recognize that not all students are like that. So we would like to have like private SGA office hours where me and Jayla are going to be sitting in the UCC anyway. We might as well get something productive done while we're there. So encourage students to come to us and have those one-on-one conversations with things that they're not comfortable talking about in front of a large group of people. And we also want to have like this online feedback form on the front of DunkLink where they can submit their issues that they have with Stevens to us so we can work to get them fixed. Personally, I have worked so much with like SGA with treasurers, also in the budget committee as Anushka is. It's awesome to hear whenever someone has an issue with their budget and you're just able to, rather than like telling them, oh, go read this like 30-page document, to have someone that's there to talk them through all the things that are going on, the reasons why we do the things that we do, and better yet, the ways that we want to help them get what they want to get done is just like, it's contagious.
Thank you all. What concrete steps would you take to build a more effective, engaged, and communicative Senate that works well together and delivers results for students? That's a mouthful, so if you need a repeat, let me know. For this question, we'll be going in the order of Anushka, Thomas, and then Sam.
Okay, perfect. So one thing I want to start with, right, is one of the issues that me and Arthur have noticed in the Senate, in our Senate right now, is that senators don't feel empowered enough to take on their own initiatives. They think that only the people in the SGA that have a leadership role, like a committee chair, an AVP, or cabinet, can really be, driving initiatives, driving change. But the truth is that everyone in SGA is a leader. Everyone can make initiatives. Everyone can drive change. And what we really want to invest in is we want to invest in our senators. We want to have very clear leadership development done by an ex-cabinet member so that senators aren't just pushed into, Senate and doing initiatives from day one, right? There's definitely a process. Like, we can't expect freshmen to just come into the Senate and know what they have to do. There has to be thorough leadership development. We want to invest time into these senators so that they each feel empowered to take on their own initiatives. And we think that having senators who have more confidence in themselves and will have an idea of what they want to do will create not only a more effective Senate, which is good for us, but it's good for the whole student body. We want the SGA to be able to do a lot for the student body. And if everyone believes that they can personally make a lot of change, then a lot more will be getting done than it is getting done now. Right, thank you.
Thomas, do you want to repeat?
Yes, please. Thank you.
What concrete steps will you take to build a more effective, engaged, and communicative Senate that works well together and delivers results for students?
I think the most important thing is getting people to communicate more, and I know that's part of the question, but truthfully, I think just getting people to be able to talk to each other and just say whatever's on their mind, even if they are more of an introverted person, I think being able to hear everyone's ideas is the most important thing, and I think that getting everyone's ideas on the page and just even heard from anyone, as well as connecting people with other people that are interested in the same thing, such as if they're interested in budget, maybe they could join that. But yeah.
Sam?
I feel like a lot of it comes down to encouraging students to take on what they're passionate about. Again, like culture, passion, I keep on bringing up the same things, but I think it's like deeply, deeply rooted in why the SGA is able to get so much done. People who aren't motivated and who aren't passionate about the things that they're doing aren't as willing to speak in front of a large group of people. And even those who are really passionate about it sometimes aren't always given the platform that they need in order to do so. Those like open hours that we talked about are not just for students, they're also for senators as well. I would love for senators to come up to me and chat with the visions that they have for the SGA, the things that they want to see improved on campus, the bills that they want to pass, so I can talk to them personally, give them the confidence that they need to go up and stand in front of Senate and betray their voice. Because at the end of the day, the most important part about a government is that everybody's active and involved. If we have a Senate that's just sitting there and just like kind of repeating the same thing over and over again, you kind of just get this big echo chamber. I also think that we need to focus more on like portraying different ideas in the SGA. In a Senate meeting, obviously we propose bills and everybody has a different opinion on it. But I think that the first like, I don't know, like half hour of it, it needs to be dedicated to thinking about what is every possible way that this bill can be looked at. And then that way we have a better idea of what's going on in the SGA, and that also encourages other senators who may have these different opinions than what everybody else may be saying at the time. And then that encourages more people to go out and share their voice and share their opinions and have a meaningful impact on this community.
Great, thank you. So as mentioned, the VPO role is very much internal operations as a big part of the role, working with committees, committee chairs, senators, and with that, we know in a people-related role, there can be conflict. So when tensions arise amongst SGA members that you're working with, what would be your approach to resolving conflict and restoring collaboration? So for this question, we'll be going in the order of Sam, Thomas, and then Anushka.
Yeah, so in high school I was in Model UN, so I had to deal with like debate and like conflict all the time. The best way to get people to sit down and have like a good conversation is to say, what do we agree on? What are things that we can agree on? And I think that the first one that we should always start with is that we want to help the student body. And then whatever comes after that should be directly related to that. We should say, is this the best way we can help the student body, or can we do it a different way? I also think that a lot of the times it comes down to feeling like it's a personal attack on you whenever someone disagrees with your opinion. But that's just not how it is. SGA is extremely important on campus, but also it is not the end-all be-all of your college experience. In Daniel's words, it's not that deep. Just reminding people that at the end of the day, these are your classmates, these are your peers. They want to achieve the same goals as you. I feel like it goes a long way in making people feel more comfortable listening to the other side.
Yeah, so pretty much, I just want to, number one, I would say communication. I'm very big on communication, in case it's not obvious, but I think just allowing people to voice their opinions, even if it's in a private setting. I know in one of my classes, I did this thing where we would write our opinions on a Post-it note, put it up, and you couldn't write your name on it, and everyone would just say their opinions on that. I think that's a really good way to kind of start a conversation. But I think just having conversations and just really not letting things build up to the point where it starts to get bad is the most important thing.
Thank you.
Do you mind repeating the
Of
question
course.
one more time?
Yes. So when tensions arrive amongst SGA members, what's your approach to resolving that conflict and restoring collaboration?
All right. This is a great question because I've been in Senate through a time where a lot of tensions have arisen, like a couple of different times, right? So I've kind of seen what happens in Senate, what happens to the people inside Senate, how people interact. I think a big component is getting to know people outside of that one pigeonhole vision that you might have initially. So one thing that me and Arthur really want to work on is we want to make SGA fun, right? We want to have events that is a little separate from just the work that we do, so we get to see people in a way that is not just one perspective. Because I think we're all students here, and there's something that we can get along with everyone here. And I think honestly, like to touch on Thomas's point, like communication is key. I think a lot of resentment grows when people don't talk to each other and when people just keep thoughts to themselves. But talking it out is one of the best ways to move forward, to move past an argument. It will be uncomfortable. There's no way that you can talk about a contentious topic and have it, be totally easygoing and comfortable. But it's important to have those uncomfortable conversations. It's okay if it's one-on-one, but having those will clear things away and will help people move forward. At the end of the day, we have a broader mission to work on, and we can't let tensions kind of halt our progress.
Great. So what initiatives would you propose as the VPO to train, mentor, and retain strong student leaders within the organization, especially among new senators and committee chairs? For this question, we'll be going in the order of Thomas, Sam, and then Anushka. Thomas, take it away.
I would say first things first is connecting people with the same interests. I believe if someone has the same interests as someone else and connecting them, it builds a stronger friendship. And friendships is really what kind of makes or breaks you. I remember in high school I did robotics, and at first I wasn't super passionate about it, but because I made friends in it, I wanted to go every day. And that's kind of what made me passionate about robotics. So I think making friendships is the most important thing, as well as just connecting people with as many people as possible. Even if you originally might say, maybe I might not be friends with them, you never know. And I say always just try it out. So yeah.
Great.
Do you repeat the question?
Yes, I can. What initiatives would you propose to train, mentor, and retain strong student leaders within the organization, especially among new senators and committee chairs?
Awesome. I feel like the best quote that I have for this is, you know that you really know something if you can explain it to a 5-year-old. Sorry, it's kind of like out of left field. But like one of the things that we want to get done, and especially it is in the aim of transparency and making things easier for student leaders, is boiling down like big governing documents that we have into short bullet points that like student organizations can look at and be like, these are the things I need to do. The biggest connection I have to this is budget, so I'll bring that up. But essentially every week in budget, there are the same probably like 5 to 10 rules that we use every week. This is around a 30-page document, and not everybody org needs to read this whole long thing. So I think that making like these like survival guides or cheat sheets for new new and incoming treasurers will go a long way in not only helping treasurers better understand the SGA, but also help the people who are new to the organization realize what is important to the people that they're representing. In terms of like fostering a sense of community within Senate, I know that we already do Senate bonding activities, but I feel like the best way to get people talking is to just go outside and do something. I feel like, I don't know, a random idea out of left field is like an intramural flag football team. Like making sure that we're friends outside of Senate, that whenever you're showing up to Senate, it's not because, oh, I want to argue about my bill, it's because I want to talk to my friends. I'm excited to talk to them. Stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, great question, by the way, because one of the things that we really want to work on is leadership development. And we want it to be done by an ex-cabinet member, someone who's really held one of the highest positions of leadership and can really understand how best to train a freshman who's kind of stepping into this role for the first time. And the way we want to go about it is that by thorough leadership development, we want to increase the confidence that senators have in themselves. And by doing this, we hope that senators participate more. And the reason I'm saying this is because participation is what really trains people. Kind of like what Sam said in budget committee, right? There's obviously this addendum E that has like, a lot of rules that you go through. But like, as a member who, as someone who's a freshman in budget committee, a lot of what I learned was from participating, from going to each meeting, seeing different cases each time, and then it kind of just internalizes in your mind, right? So having thorough leadership development that increases senator participation is really important. And another thing we want to do for committee chairs is have clear transition documents from the previous committee chair to the next one, and have a one-on-one with the previous committee chair. So like when I was training for my budget co-chair position, I didn't just figure out DuckLink in a day, like overnight. Arthur sat me down and we went through, the whole process. And that's a big important part of, having clear transitions between leadership.
How would you make sure that information about SGA decisions and initiatives is shared clearly with both senators within the organization and the wider student body? For this question, we'll be going in the order of Sam, Anushka, and then Thomas. Sam.
Awesome. The thing that I feel like most embodies this is like, we were looking for the SGA governing documents when we were first running. And it wasn't directly available on like the front page of the DuckLink. It was kind of hidden in this back like file folder of like a bunch of files down, and eventually you find them. I feel like the biggest thing is transparency when it comes to the rules that we have to follow. Making governing documents like widely available on DuckLink is like the first step in doing that. In terms of making sure that the things that Senate does are like widely available, me and Jayla want to set up regular meetings with the students, so that way students can like hear about what's going on in their own backyard through the school newspaper. We also want to have, again, these town halls where we're talking to students about the problems that they have, but also at the beginning share, like, here's some of the things that we did during Senate this week. Here's what we're doing in order to impact, or like, have an impact on your experience here. And that goes a long way, and also in, like, kind of building trust in the SGA as well, showing that we are working towards something meaningful for students. At the end of the day, transparency is probably one of the biggest, I think, focus points for this next administration, ensuring that all of the stuff that the SGA does is widely available to the general student population.
Perfect. So we have two very clear goals for how we want to go about increasing transparency. the first thing is, within the first month, we want the president and the secretary to work on creating a monthly newsletter to the student body. This will summarize all the legislation that has been passed, any initiatives that have been done in that month or are being worked on, and a summary of the SGA spending of that month. I know, people don't really open their emails, but this is the least that we could do. That's why we're not doing it weekly, because we don't want to be consistent, but monthly is a good timeline for this. Another thing that we really want to finish up as soon as we get elected is the SGA website. Like Sam said, a lot of the rules are kind of hard to find. We want a clear way where you can get access to all of our rules, our leadership, who is in our leadership positions, what we do. All of that is going to be consolidated into this website. It hasn't been done yet because people have been talking about it, but no one's really taken up the initiative to get it done. But we have the will to get it done. We will either find a CS student who is really interested in this, and if we cannot find anyone on this campus, we will use the Presidential Discretionary Fund to get it done externally. Thank you.
Pretty much just reiterating what Sam and Anushka said. I remember when we first tried to find the Constitution, we could only find one from 2 years ago, and then we had to actually email, and we got an email from Jalen giving us the current Constitution at that time. I think just giving the Constitution at a very easy place, even if you just put it somewhere on the My Stevens website, just somewhere where everyone can access it. And number two, I think sending out email, like what Anushka said, or I know me and Noah had this idea of creating a Instagram 5-picture, quick recap of the month. Just so that people aren't seeing it in their email, because I know a lot of people don't check their email. Just everyone, almost a lot of people use Instagram, and they'll open that. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. So we've been talking a lot about if you were elected into this role. If you were not elected into this role, how do you see yourself continuing to kind of pursue some of the things that you're passionate about that made you want to run for SGA, to be an SGA official in the first place? For this question, we're going to go in the order of Thomas, Sam, and then Anushka.
Okay. So if I was not elected into this role, number one, I would like to wish them the best of luck, because the best of luck for them is the best of luck for the entire student body. And number two, I would like to say, hopefully we can meet up and even just exchange some ideas. They don't have to listen, or I would hope that they would listen, but if they can just take one of our initiatives and just think it's a good idea and just try to push forward with it, just improving the student body overall. That's just the main focus of SGA, and I think that's the main focus I would hope for everyone. So, yeah.
Okay. One of the big focuses, especially in my time in budget committee, has been the idea of transparency within the SGA. I've talked about the cheat sheets and survival guides for treasurers, but kind of just amplifying what the SGA does. I'm going to bring it back to budget every time, but in my time there have been plenty of treasurers who have come up to me after and be like, "What is going on? I didn't know that was a rule." I personally have talked to, I think, 5 or 6 treasurers now that I personally, whenever they have an issue with their budget or they need like recommendations for what they should do, they come to me personally, and I feel like being trying to get as many friendly faces in the SGA as we possibly can goes a long way in helping students directly. Also, promoting the idea that you don't have to be in Senate in order to join a committee. I have friends that are very, very passionate about the Committee on Student Interest, or the things that they would deal with. How student orgs are able to get different events approved, stuff on Duckling, stuff like that. And they just weren't aware. I want to get people that I know involved, or people that I know would be good for the position, involved in the SGA. So even if I'm not able to create that culture shift as the VPO, I would hopefully be able to impact it at least a little bit in my time as an outsider.
I think kind of on Sam's point there, I wanted to say that a lot of the SGA's meetings are public, right? So the Sunday meetings are public for anyone to show up, whether they're a senator or not. And like Sam said, a lot of the committees are some things that you can join even without running. So if I were not to be elected, right, but I really wanted to make sure that some change was happening, I could come to a Sunday meeting, and before the meeting starts, the public can speak. So you can bring up any issues that you have, and you can ask the Senate on their progress with a certain issue. I think I would also look into joining a committee, even if I were not a senator, especially with issues like the student-faculty interaction that we really want to work on. That is something that can be worked out with either not only just the academic affairs committee, but we can also just directly meet with administration. I think one of the good things of having been in the SGA is that I have friends in the SGA now, so if I were to not be in it, at least I know who to talk to get something done. I can message them, I can say, hey, I've been hearing a lot of issues around this topic, this might be something to look into. So I would do my best to use my experience from being in SGA to continue to just make sure that things are getting done and people's issues are being heard.
If you were given a blank check to be used to solve one problem at Stevens, what problem would you focus on? For this question, we'll be going in the order of Sam, Thomas, and then Anushka.
What do you mean the hardest question? A blank check? I'm gonna think about it a little bit.
I think your time has begun.
My time has begun? Oh God, okay. As a member of the budget committee, I feel like the biggest issue that a lot of student organizations have is that they want to go bigger, but they aren't able to. If I were to able to donate every dollar that I had to take all of that money and put it directly back into the students in the form of student events, making like the stuff that EC does in like Fall Fest and Winter Wonderland, something that any student organization could do, I think that would make Stevens an instantaneously way better experience to be around. I know like giant orgs like ESC like to hold like chip and dip with all these different orgs, and they have issues where they're only able to get a certain amount of funding because of attendance. If we were able to kind of drop all of that and then make these events massive, we're able to make these events as large as these clubs can possibly imagine, I think that would be awesome. And again, this is something that in my time as VPO I would hope to work on, is try to give these orgs the like resources that they need in order to go as big as they can possibly imagine.
Thomas?
I would say I would give it back to the students. I want to know what their opinions is, and I want to know what they would want to do with it. Because while I would say one thing, I don't know if it would be the entire student body's opinion. And I would say I would put up a form, send it out to every student, and just see what they would want to do, and then just put it towards whatever they would want.
Yeah, I mean, if I had that opportunity, I would try to put it towards something that isn't really in a great place right now. I would say, like, club funding is actually in a really great place right now. The student activity fund that we pay has technically increased, so we have a lot to give to clubs. In fact, this fall we've had 40% more funding given to clubs than last fall. But I think something that's lacking right now is alumni engagement, and I think this is a really big concern because the more engaged our alumni are, the more that they come back to students and the more interactions that students have with alumni, the more benefit that students have. We're technically investing in our students and their careers, right? If I could have a blank check, I would try to use it to increase alumni engagement, get alumni to come back, have these informal events where alumni and students can engage. So not only are we, getting alumni more engaged in our community, but we're really investing in the futures of our community. Because I see that as something that we lack right now. I know a lot of schools have a really big alumni network, and they have alumni that are ready to come back and ready to help. And Stevens, being a small school, does lack that. So while I think expanding club funding is great, I will say we are in a really good spot right now for club funding, but we should help out where we're not really that great yet. So.
This is our final question of the evening before closing statements. So work-life balance should be a priority for any strong leader. So what will you do as VPO to make that balance for yourself, to be able to unplug, relax, and then be able to be recharged to come back and pursue the initiatives in this role? For this question, we will be going in the order of Anushka, Thomas, and then Sam.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I think being in the SGA, I've kind of gotten a little familiar with that. Obviously, I know VPO is a much bigger time commitment. The way I see it is making your work fun sometimes. So I know one of the roles for VPO is meeting one-on-one with all the senators, right? Getting to know everyone there. Something I want to do is have one-on-one coffee chats. I know Shane did this with a lot of the senators, right? In a way, you're doing your job, but in another way, you're also having fun. You're going out to a coffee shop, you're recharging, you're getting coffee. I think having work-life balance it's difficult as a college student because there's no like 9 to 5 timeline, right? Like you're constantly getting emails, you're constantly having to respond to different people. So just making your work fun for you, and having like enjoying those conversations that you have with the senators as VPO is important. So considering that as not just like a chore to do, but something that you just truly enjoy doing. Outside of that, I understand that we all I think have commitments outside of just the SGA, right? One thing I would make sure to schedule time for myself is just have a calendar. I already do that right now. It's something I would continue just to make sure that I'm scheduling time for myself when I need it, but I'm also doing my responsibilities when I need to do that as well.
Thomas.
Yeah, pretty much reiterating kind of what Anushka said, a little bit different. Number one, live by the calendar, right? I think everybody has that in college, right? Number two, I would say finding time in times where you don't think that you have time, if that makes sense. So maybe instead of doing an hour of studying, you can study while also eating lunch. Or just maybe meeting with someone over breakfast or something like that. Trying to find the time where you originally didn't think they had the time, but you actually do. And then, yeah, live by the calendar, right?
I think there are 2 big ways that time has an impact on people. The first one is burnout. It's a big issue, especially because we're at a tech school. For me, at least, I know I've spent a lot of time working on this, and it's something that I've gotten really good at, I think, in my first 2 years of college. For me, the biggest realization that I had was creativity and exercise are the biggest enemies of burnout. I'm on the Ultimate Frisbee team with Anushka. She knows that we go to stuff all the time, we run around. But also just having creative outlets. I'm a photographer, I take pictures for the Stute. I love just walking around in random places and taking pictures. So that's burnout. If the question is simply just enough hours in the day, I've allocated my time at Stevens to be dedicated towards things that I find important. And I don't think that there is anything more important here than helping the general student body. I think that, again, I've mentioned it before, my time as a peer leader, my time as a tour guide, I want to help people, and that means that this is the titular role for me. I would like to do as much as I can with as many people as I can in order to make Stevens as good of a place as possible for everybody here.
Great. Okay, so now we're into our closing statements portion. So candidates, you'll all have 90 seconds to give your closing thoughts on tonight's discussion, your campaign, or anything else that you would like to share in your final sentiments of this evening's event. So for this question, or these statements, we'll be going in the order of Anushka, Thomas, and then Sam. Anushka,
Sounds
take
good.
it away.
Yeah. First of all, thank you guys so much again for coming out and for sitting through this long time that we've been here. I hope that throughout this time you've gotten a sense of what we're all here for, and you've made a decision on who you think is best fit for this role. I just want to reiterate something from my opening statement, right? The VPO is an internal role to the organization, and it is a role that is all about leading leaders. It's something that I've practiced over my year as budget co-chair, and it's something that I can bring day one to the role. And before I close, I'd be remiss to not mention who I'm running with. So I'm running with Arthur Serra, who is the current Vice President of Finance at the SGA. I'm running it with Arthur not only just because of the experience he brings to this role, but because of the passion he has for the student government and the vision that he has to make it best fit to help the student body. Arthur and I have been working together on a team for over a year now, so we've already kind of built up that synergy. And between us, we kind of cover a diverse perspective. I'm a sophomore in the School of Business, and Arthur is a junior in the School of Engineering. And I really like to hope that between us, we hit a lot of different perspectives. I'd like to encourage everyone here who came out tonight to come to this debate tomorrow evening. Hopefully you learn a little bit more about him there as well. And by the end of tomorrow night, you can realize why together as a ticket, we are the best candidates that you could vote for. Thank you.
Thank you. Thomas.
Thank you. I just want to say first, thank you all for your time. This campaign for me and Noah isn't about titles, it's about people. Student to all means making sure no one feels disconnected from their campus, better communication, welcoming organizations, and SGA that goes out and solve problems instead of waiting for them is what me and Noah are going to accomplish. As Vice President, I want to build real-world connections between students, faculty, administration, and the community itself, so every voice is acknowledged. When we listen to each other, Stevens becomes the community it should be. That's the goal, and that's what we are ready to deliver. Thank you.
Sam.
I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but I need to emphasize just how important this is to me. I do not care who you are or where you came from. If you have an issue with Stevens, regardless of the outcome of this election, come and talk to me. I will either know somebody that can point you in the right direction, or I will be able to point you in the right direction. I will work with you in order to make Stevens a better place for everybody here. The VPO role is exactly that. It's just doing it with the rest of the Senate behind your back. And regardless of the outcome of this election, I will be doing that for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you all candidates for engaging with us with the questions, with your ideas and passion for these roles and for the student body at Stevens. And thank you all for attending with us tonight at this evening's debate. I hope that tonight's event helped you gain insight into what our vice presidential candidates hope to accomplish in the role if selected. We hope that you please consider joining us tomorrow night for the presidential debate, which will be happening in the TechFlex at 7 p.m. to hear from those candidates and be able to better round out your decision in the voting process. Voting will open on Friday, November 14th at 9 a.m. and close on Friday, November 21st at 12 p.m. So thank you all, and we hope to see you tomorrow night, and thanks again for coming.